Hi guys, Samantha from Jessama Tutorials here, and today I'm going to be showing you part 2 of the project that I am doing this week. So, in the last part I showed you how to create this Doodle Rose Cane. It's really cute, and so we're going to be using this in our project today, but we need to make a few other things before we can put it all together. So I've got a sheet of Primo white here that will roll out on my thicker setting, make it about 4mm thick. And I'm going to double it up. So I now have something around 8mm thick. Now I'm just going to trim off these edges, because what I want to do is I want to make a mica shift. Okay. Now I'm going to be using my mini circle cutters, and you can find these on my Etsy shop, Jessama Design, and we're going to be using these to create a mica shift. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the largest one. I'm going to press it into our piece of clay. Now the nice thing about these cutters is, unlike metal ones, they're really going to produce a nice mica shift because they're pressing down those metal particles quite a bit. So I'm just going to use the largest one and move that around. And what I'm going to try and imitate is something similar to what our rose canes look like, so that it can be echoed in our mica shift. I'm trying to keep it somewhat random, but I want to fill up this piece of clay. Here we go. And so once I've filled this with this cutter, I'll go down a size, or I can't really fit that inside there, so I'm just going to coat the rest with the next size down so that we have a little bit of variety. Yeah. Okay, then I'm going to go a size down, and I'm going to implant that into my first ones so we create this ring. Okay, and you would do that with all of them. Then you'll go down another size, and that will go into the other ones, into our second lot, that were our second size down. And if that happens, just take something that can fit in there, like this straw fits quite nicely, and push it out. And just continue going down through your sizes. So that would probably be the smallest size for that one, but with our larger one here, I can go down another size and press another one. And then when we're done, I'll show you how to press it all together. Okay, so I've pressed that all in. Now what you want to do is you just want to use a roller over the top to flatten it out. And then start pressing from the sides. I'm just going to pick this up so that I can flip it, because it's easier sometimes to do that. Flip it, rotate, oops, don't do that. And just squish it all together. So that it's going to form one piece again. Okay. I'm going to flatten it out so that I can use it. Alright, now I'm going to be using this side because I prefer this side with the mica shift. The mica shift just generally looks better on the side opposite to where you were pushing your pieces in. And I'm just going to flatten it onto my tile, make sure that it's firmly stuck. And I'm going to bring over a tissue blade, and I'm going to slice. there. And so you can see when I pick this up that the mica shift isn't as nice. So this is the best side for a mica shift. And the nice thing about this is the deeper you slice, the better the mica shift actually gets. So you don't have to worry about going, well, you don't really have to worry about going too deep. If you go too deep, it means that you've sliced through the other side. But with the other one, too deep means that you've gone deeper than your tool pushed. So I'm just trying to even this out, because this is what I'm going to be using. And I don't want it too thick. So I'm just shaving away bits until I'm happy with how thick it is, and then I can pass this through the pasta machine to get it all even. You can see it gives a nice mica shift. And the nice thing about mica shifts is that if you make a mess up, you can always just screw it back in the ball, run that through your pasta machine a few times and try again. And any excess bits that you have that you're not using, like all these pieces that I'm shaving off, those you can just reuse. You don't have to worry about using up the leftovers and things like that. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm just going to shave along the side here. Okay, just grab this, get it out of my way, pick that up, and I'm going to roll this through my pasta machine on the thickest setting. Then I'm going to take it down one setting, and so I rolled it from this side to this side. You can see circles will stretch a little bit. I'm going to rotate and roll it from this side to this side so the circles will even out. I'm going to take it down one more setting now. And there we go. It's a nice even sheet that we can use. Okay, so I'll just pop this off to the side. Just pop it here for a moment. And I'm going to be using Lisa Pavelka's Love Letter stamp and some Stays On ink. And I'm going to be using black Stays On ink. Okay, and so let me just move this over here so you can see what I'm doing. But I also want to move this here so you can see when I press. Let me just bring that higher for you. There we go. Okay. And I'm just going to ink this up. And do a good job of inking it. It needs to be well inked. Okay, then quickly flip and press down. Not too hard, you're just pressing enough that it makes full contact with your pearl white. And then you'll get a beautiful mica shift. And you've got that nice background texture which makes it more interesting, and it's going to tie in nicely with those roses. Okay, now I just want to pop that to the side and clean up. Okay, I really love how this turned out. So now that this is cleaned up, I'm going to bring over our rose, and I'm actually gonna take it, and it needs to be reduced just a bit because this is going to be the pendant that I use, and so I want to reduce it just a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut it up. Like I said in my previous tutorial, you can cut this up and put it together, and I've decided that that's probably going to be the best way to do it. It's going to keep the edges nice and neat and square, and so I'm going to take this, go reduce it a little bit, and then I'm going to cut it into 4. Okay, and I'll just brush it with my hands to make it nice and square, and then trim off these ends. Cut it in half. You can see it's going to fit together. nicely. Okay. Cut in half again. You could put it together like that if you wanted to. I'm putting it together like this so that we're going to have a nice strip. Okay. Then use your roller to just roll each side, roll on the side, just to squish it together, but also to even it out, because you've got those little join lines and things like that still. So just gently work the pieces together. And this can take a little while to get right. Just remember to not just roll on the large wide sides, roll on these little corners as well, and on the large wide sides. Okay. And then we can use this in our pendant. Okay, that should be about fine. Just going to smooth off these edges to make sure it's nice and neat. Okay. Then I'll bring over my blade. I'm going to slice. You can see what it's going to look like there. I'm going to actually slice towards me so that I can see what I'm doing. And I'm taking slices that are about my thickest setting, about the thickness of my thickest setting. Actually no, sorry, they're about the thickness of my 5th setting, which is the setting that I put my sheet through before. So it's about 3 millimeters thick. Okay, that should be enough. Now what I want to do is I just want to gently square up these edges so that I can put them together nice and neatly. Pop them together like that. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this flat and I'm going to bring over a ruler and I'm going to even out so that it's nice and square. Well, not square, just symmetrical. I'm just going to press that ruler up against it and rub the sides. Do the same on the other side. And press to make sure it's flat. Then press these sides again. And that should be good to use. I just want to trim up there, the little blips there. Okay, and get rid of those ends. Clean up the sides. Okay. So now if I look at it, it should be pretty symmetrical. Oops. Well, it was symmetrical before I did that. Just cleaning up all these little straggly bits before we bring it over to the white, because the white can get messed up pretty easily. There, I'm pretty happy with that. just pop this over here in the meantime. Let me just move these out the way. Bring up the white. Okay. And I want to figure out where my cutter's gonna go. Okay. So I'm gonna cut at a diagonal. At an angle. There we are. Move that out the way. Bring this over and insert it. Bring over the side of my ruler and just press that into place. And then bring over the other side. This part can be a little tricky because you want that right up against it. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to bring over a plain piece of printing paper. And I'm going to just burnish with that to make those two pieces, or three pieces I guess, sit nicely together. They're supposed to have no bumps or things like that. And I like to use my fingers. You can use a roller if you want. I like to use my fingers for the most part and then finish off with the roller. And then if you feel any bumps and things like that then through the paper, which you should be able to feel, then you're not finished. But if you can't feel anything, then it's pretty much safe to lift up that paper. You'll see that a little bit of that writing does come off, so it's important to let this air dry for a little while before you do that. So if you made this quite fresh and you did the paper, you might find that the words come off. Okay, now I'm going to find the direction that I like. Do I want it halfway down? Do I want it the whole way up? I'm going to sit here and decide this because this part takes a while usually. Okay, so I figured out that I want to cut it like that. So I also want it to have a very slight domed edge. So I'm just going to bring over a piece of cling wrap . I like the cling wrap because it gives a very, very slight dome. Yeah, that's the first time I've got it that smooth without wrinkles. Alright, now I'm going to position this in the right way so it's nice and symmetrical. Okay, and then I'm just going to press down. And that will just give the edges a very, very slight dome. And now I also want a hole over here for my bail. So I need to work out where the middle is, but I am going to press one in there. So just keep your cling wrap over here. And now I'm just going to quickly work out where the middle is. There we are. Now press down while the cling wrap's there. So we have a nice dome there as well. Okay, and then take your craft blade and gently pick that out if you can. There we go. Okay, and I'm just going to use my blade to pick up this bit around the edges. Okay, and that's what we're left with. Now take your blade, and because we're using cling wrap, you're going to have some areas that have just a little bit of clay residue on them. So it's best to just go around to those areas and just trim up any little bits that are left. so that you have a nice, neat finish. Yeah. Just touching up the edges here. Okay. Now I'm just going to bring over a piercing pin and I'm just going to drag it along the inside over here, and this will do what the blade was doing on the outside. Right. Now it's time to pick this up. Okay. Any little bits that are there, get rid of as much as you can. Okay, now pop this onto a piece of paper quickly. Okay, now I'm just going to bring over a glass jar and I'm going to pop this onto the jar and gently smooth it on. Okay, now sometimes you can bring over the cutter and just gently fix any problems that you might see. And I'm just going to bring over my piercing pin and just smooth the inside there. It's a slight problem. And I'll smooth the edges. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. Okay. Now just use your fingers and things to just gently smooth this so it's nice and smooth. Just be careful that you don't overdo it because you can smudge that writing by accident. Now, we're not going to be able to sand this, so make sure that you do this properly because if we sand it, we will remove the writing. So make sure that you smooth it properly. And tend to the edges as well. We'll take care of the backing once this is baked. So I'm just using the blade to actually smooth these edges. Then you can go in here if you're careful and just remove some bits and pieces. Okay, and so now that is ready to go in the oven for a full hour at Primo's recommended temperature. Okay, so while that other pendant is in the oven, I want to make another pendant as a slight variation on the one that we just put in the oven. So I've taken my Doodle Rose Cane and I've just taken nice large slices and put them all together like this into a sheet. Then I'm going to bring over a sheet of plain printing paper and I'm just going to burnish this together. Now these roses are quite a bit larger than the ones that we had before, like these ones. And it was done with the cane that I showed in the last tutorial. So I'm just burnishing those slices all together. Okay, now check that. Need to burnish it just a little bit more. There we are. Then once you've got it burnished, roll out a sheet of black and just pop this on it. I've made another sheet of this mica shift with the writing on it, and that's on my 5th setting, so this needs to be rolled out on the same setting, and it's not thick enough for that, so I'm just putting a black backing on it, and then I'm going to roll it through the pasta machine so that it is that thickness. So I'll start on my thickest setting and roll through, and then go down to my 5th setting. And there's what they look like. Okay, now I'm going to bring over some of those slices that I had taken out of that other cane that we made. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just cut those roses into individual pieces. And I'm going to place that on here. Okay, and actually what I'm going to do is, I'm not sure if this is going to look good or not, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to chop this in half, because 1/2 is enough for my pendant. So when in doubt, cut it in half if you have enough and test. You can never go wrong that way. Okay, just place those down, and then I'm just going to use my fingers to quickly squish them on. And then we'll bring over that paper again and we'll burnish that flat. Okay. Take that and I'll run it through the thick mica setting. And that's what it looks like. So now we've got those two to choose from, and we'll see which one looks best. Okay. Then bring over another sheet of black that was rolled out on your thickest setting and some metal leaf, and I'm going to be using gold leaf today. I'm just going to place that on. And I'm going to smooth that on. So it's nice and smooth. Okay, and I'm just going to run along the sides. And cut away the excess leaf. Okay. And I'll just trim up this end and this end so I've just got the leaf. Okay, then I'm going to roll that through my thickest setting and then down to my 5th setting. There we go. I quite like that crackle. Okay, so now we've got the sheets so that we can assemble our sheet. So you know how I assembled the other one, so I'm just going to assemble this sheet pretty much the exact same way. Okay, so here's what it looks like. I decided to go with this one as I thought this one looked best, and you can see that I've just cut a thin piece of the gold crackle and then I put the letter writing over here. So now I'm going to use some cling wrap so that we can get a domed cut. So let me just grab that. Let's see if I can get it on nice and smooth. Because I don't want it to mess up the wrinkles. There we go, that's fairly smooth. Okay, then I'll bring over the cutter and I'm going to choose where I want it to be. Okay, that's where I want it to sit, and I put the little circle cutter in as well. So I'm going to press down on that one first. And then I'll press down on the rounded square. Okay, let me just get that out of the way. Press on that again, get out of the way. Press on that, make sure that we got that properly. And then peel that cling wrap off and get that out of the way. the way. And I'm probably going to bring in my cutter again. Just press down and rotate to make sure that it's nice and clean in there before I take this piece out. And so that one has a little bit more of a sparkle or a little bit more colour to it. So depending on which one you prefer, I know that different ones are going to appeal to different people. I personally prefer this one. The other one's a little bit more simplistic, but I do prefer this one. So let me know in the comments which one you prefer. Love to hear your opinions. There we go. Okay, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. Okay. Okay, and here's my doming surface. I'm just going to pop that on there. Gently tap. Then I'm just going to smooth. Be careful not to smear the letters or anything. Just smooth it so that it doesn't have any fingerprints. Okay. And touch up the sides if you need to. A little bit there that needs to come off. Okay, but I'm pretty happy with that. So that's what that one looks like. And the other one is out of the oven. So side by side you can see which one is which. They're kind of different. I definitely prefer this one. I like the gold, it really creates quite a highlight. But this one is quite nice and simple. But I actually definitely prefer this one. So that one's done and we can apply backing to it. This one I'm going to go pop in the oven for a full hour. Okay, so I've taken some of the scraps and I've just made some sheets, and using the basic method that we used to create our other two sheets, where we cut it into pieces, we lay it next to each other and we burnish it flat. So this is going to be the one with the gold veins, with the gold strips through it actually. So I'll put that to the side, and this is going to be the one that we made originally. So you're going to need some bacon bond on the back, because our back is quite shiny and there's nothing really to hold on to. So I'm just gonna squish on a little bit of bacon bond. You don't want to put too much because otherwise it's all slimy and it's hard to get the sheet to stick and it just causes problems. So just add a bit. There we go. Should be enough. And then smear it across the surface. And don't get it on the front of your bead, just on the back, because this liquid clay, or the bacon bond really, has a very matte consistency once baked. So if you get it on the front, it's going to give it a really matte look. And if you like that, then that's good. But I don't really like that. I'm going to use liquid clay at the end of this to get it really nice. And this isn't very translucent, gives a really not so nice matte finish, and so I want to try and avoid getting that on the front. Okay, and so once you've covered it pretty well, let's try and get to the edges as well. Okay, you can bring over your sheet. We'll place that on. Press it on properly. Okay, and then I'll press this through the hole. And then on these edges, I'm actually going to press nice and hard against the edges so that I'm actually pressing it so much so against the side of the cutter that it's going to thin it out. So it's almost using this to cut the sheet. Almost. So there's a nice easy line for my blade to follow. Okay. Then I bring my craft knife and just smooth your sheet over the edge. And this will give it a nice place to get started. And be careful that you don't actually cut into your original bead. And just trim the whole way around. And this is a nice way to finish the back because it's quite pretty and you're using up the scraps from your project. There we go. Now we'll tend to those sides in just a second. The last thing I want to do is I just want to use the little finger to press that through the hole pretty well. And then use my blade to trim around the inside. Okay, there we are. That's pretty good. Now just use your finger to just smooth around the edge. Get rid of any little bits that are left. And just in general, tidy up. Okay. And you can pop your finger inside here to smooth inside there. And don't forget to get rid of fingerprints because after that there's going to be quite a few. Okay. There we go. And once we've got rid of the fingerprints, you'll probably want to smooth those sides again. And then you'll pop this onto just a cloth or a bed of tissues that kind of supports its shape, and you'll bake that for about 40 minutes at pretty much recommended temperature. Just make sure that you smooth it out as best you can, because again you can't sand this because of the mixed media on here. You don't want to go sanding that off. Okay, so I'll go pop that in the oven and then we'll do the other one. So I'll do the other bead basically the exact same, like this. Okay, so these are out of the oven and I'm really happy with how they're looking so far. So here are those backs, as you can see. And now I actually really like the backs. They look very interesting compared to the front as well. So you could have these almost as a double pendant. So you could have the dome facing forward, or you could have the dome facing, so you could have the dome going different ways. You could do this part as the bead, so if you didn't like the design that I have over here, you could maybe switch up the design and make it look like this. There's so many ways that you could apply the veneers together. So I hope those backs gave you some ideas for the front as well. So now what we're going to do is check the sides. If you're happy with them and they're nice and smooth, don't worry about sanding them, because if you sand them you can get rid of the little silver leaf bits and some of the mixed media that's naturally going over the edges, and so I prefer to just leave the sides the way they are if they are smooth. So now we are going to apply our liquid clay. Now I have this part on my Patreon account on the $5 level. I will provide a link to that in the links below. I'm not comfortable sharing this on YouTube because Debbie does already have a paid tutorial on it. So if you want to check it out, you can have a look on my Patreon account, or if you want a more in-depth tutorial, have a look at Debbie Carruthers' tutorial. Okay, so here they are now that I have coated them with liquid clay. And so you can see what a beautiful shine they have to them. It's really glossy, just like resin, and so it's a lovely finish for you to play around with. It's really easy once you've practiced it a bit, and it just brings out the metallic or the shiny, or it just increases color saturation, and it just makes your piece look perfect. You can see I've done the back as well. It looks really shiny. It's super easy to do and it looks lovely. This one too, it just takes a dull piece and makes it look really shiny and sophisticated. That's what the back looks like. So now that we've done the liquid clay, we can actually get onto string. That's basically it for the pendants. So I was thinking about a few string options, And I've decided that the gold one over here, I'm going to go with white and black suede. And for this one over here, which is a little bit on the plain side with no colour to clash, I'm going to go with this really nice kind of almost coffee, not really coffee, I'm not sure, let's see. What sort of colour is this? It's kind of a beige, coffee-ish, almost sort of colour, which I think goes nicely with the bead. It just gives it a little bit of a splash of colour without clashing with anything. If you were going to use this colour sari ribbon with the gold, I wouldn't use gold leaf, try using copper leaf, because this is more on the reddish side of the brown family rather than the yellow side of the browns. So that would look better with copper, but it's not really going to work as well with this one as this one. So what you want to do is you want to cut 2 lengths of strand of sari ribbon, and this is the exact same thing that you would do with the suede. So I'm not going to repeat what I am doing with the other piece, just do the exact same thing basically that I'm doing with the sari ribbon. So you'll loop, you'll double them over so that you have them in a loop, and then you put the 2 pieces through your bead. So you just do basic knot. Okay, now I'm not going to tighten it, and I'm going to decide which I like. I'm just going to gently tighten that. Okay, and then I do this before I have put the clasps on, because then I can have a look at my strands, I can pull on them. There we go, that's long enough. And then I'm going to grab them all so they're the exact same length, and I'm going to cut. So now they're all exact same length. Okay. Now I'm just busy going to part them, and this is when we're going to put our cord on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these little crimps that I have from Far Mountain Gems. And I've put one on one end already. And I'll just make sure that that is firmly closed. Now the sari ribbon takes up quite a bit of space over here, as you can see, but it will fit in a small, if you bunch it all together, so let me just grab that, just get rid of any little bits that are kind of flying all over the place. You can use a little, I mean, what I like about the sari ribbon is it has this really nice organic coming apart sort of look to it, which offsets the really shiny finish that the pendant has. So just trim away most of the little flying off little bits and pieces before you go and attach your ending, your findings. But I really like the nice organic look it has. So you'll bunch up the ends together, and I'm just going to trim so that it's completely flat so that they'll both go in at the same time, and they will fit if you twist it in through. There we go, you can see it coming through the end there. Bring over your pliers and squish, and make sure you give it a really tight squeeze. There we go. And then gently give it a little pull, make sure that it doesn't come out. And there you are, your 2 ends are finished. Then you'll need 2 little jump rings. Slot that in, and a clasp. So I'll attach 1/2 of the clasp here. And the other half of the clasp there. And I'm going to do the exact same for the other pendant, but I'm going to be using black and white suede instead of sari ribbon. And this is just a really nice simple way to finish off your pieces that looks professional. There we are. You can see how nice and beautiful that is. And I really do like how the organic soy ribbon offsets the somewhat shiny finish to the pendant we have. And you can wear it the other way if you wanted to. Might look quite interesting that way, because I've made it so that the back looks really professional like the front, so you can wear it both ways. So I'll go do the other one quickly. Okay, so there we are. Now we have two beautiful finished pendants. So this one, the suede is nice and neat, but it also offsets the shiny part of the pendant, so the pendant will stand out against its stringing material. This one, the pendant's a little bit more on the simple side, but the suede adds the soy ribbon adds just a splash of colour to give it a little bit more interest. So those are the two pendants in this tutorial, and so I do hope that it was helpful to you, and if it was, please do let me know, as that is always helpful to me. And if you would like to support me, as I do a lot of videos, please do check out my Patreon account. I do lots of different tutorials on there, as well as YouTube. You can see the extra parts that I cut out of my YouTube videos, as they're a little bit sensitive for YouTube, like the liquid clay pot on Patreon. You can see colour recipes, project tutorials, and all sorts of things, so please do check that out. And you can also see my tutorials and tools on my Etsy shop, Jessama Design, and I'll provide a link to that in the links below, and if you could check that out, that would also be really helpful. And if you like the tutorial, do please leave a like and a comment. I really do enjoy hearing what you guys think about these tutorials, as I do put a lot of work into them, and hearing that you like them really does help and encourage me to make more tutorials. So please do leave a comment. And as always, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.